Each life contains hidden episodes, a series of inner dramas and archetypal challenges that shape who we are. When you browse episodes on resilience and overcoming adversity, you are not merely listening to stories, you are entering the collective library of the human soul. In this library, every episode is a mirror, an invitation to confront your own trials and discover your own unbreakable core. Life does not simply happen, it unfolds as a vast and intricate myth, a living story that stretches far beyond the borders of your personal biography. When you pause to truly observe your existence, you can see threads of destiny, archetypes, and repeating patterns that echo the timeless stories told in every culture. Every setback, every victory, every dark night of the soul becomes a chapter in your epic. To recognize life as a mythic journey is to understand that your challenges are not punishments but initiations, designed to awaken the hero sleeping inside you. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you are not only learning about other people. You are standing before a mirror of your own hidden capacities. Their stories reveal the map of your inner labyrinth, showing you that no trial is meaningless, and no obstacle is without its hidden treasure. By approaching your life as a myth rather than a series of random events, you claim a sense of purpose and meaning that carries you through the storms. Each hardship becomes an oracle, each struggle a threshold, and each act of courage a sacred rite. You begin to see that resilience is not only about surviving but about transforming, becoming larger, wiser, and more whole with every challenge. This mythic perspective empowers you to walk your path with dignity, hope, and the certainty that your journey, however difficult, is leading you toward the deepest truth of who you are. Within each of us lives a shadow, the hidden, dissound, and unacknowledged aspects of our being. These are the fears we suppress, the doubts we deny, and the wounds we avoid looking at. Yet adversity has a way of pulling the curtain back, revealing what we have tried to keep in the dark. To meet the shadow with courage is to step into a sacred confrontation with yourself. When you encounter stories of people who have faced their hardships openly, you see the courage it takes to embrace one's own darkness without collapsing under its weight. This is not an act of weakness, but of immense strength. For only by acknowledging the shadow can we integrate its power into our lives. Each time you face your fear instead of fleeing it, you reclaim lost energy and recover hidden wisdom. The shadow is not your enemy, it is your teacher, containing the very qualities you need to become whole. Resilience, clarity, empathy, and authentic strength. By witnessing others who have turned toward their inner darkness and transformed it, you learn that your own pain is neither a curse nor a final verdict but an invitation to growth. Meeting the shadow is an alchemical process. The raw material of your suffering is transmuted into gold through awareness, honesty, and self-compassion. This path demands courage, yet it also promises liberation, a freedom born from no longer fearing what lies within you. And as you practice this inner bravery, life's outer challenges begin to lose their power over you, because you have already confronted the deepest trial, the one inside yourself. There is a universal truth hidden in our pain, that what wounds us also has the potential to awaken us. Within every individual lies the archetype of the wounded healer, the part of the psyche that learns to transform personal suffering into a source of wisdom, empathy, and strength for oneself and others. When adversity strikes, it can feel like a cruel and isolating force, yet at the same time it opens a sacred doorway to deeper understanding. By browsing episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you begin to recognize this archetype at work. People who have endured hardship emerge with a heightened sensitivity to the pain of others and a greater capacity to guide, comfort, or inspire. Their wounds become the very channels through which healing energy flows. This is not about glorifying suffering but about realizing its transformative potential. Just as a broken bone becomes stronger at the point of healing, the human spirit develops a quiet but unshakable strength where it has been tested. Your own wounds, when faced and integrated, give you insight into the universal human condition. They teach compassion, patience, and humility. They dismantle illusions of separateness and superiority, reminding you of our shared vulnerability. And as you learn to embrace your inner wounded healer, you stop seeing your struggles as mere obstacles and start experiencing them as initiations. Profound experiences that shape your soul's maturity. This archetype calls you to transmute your pain into purpose, to allow your scars to become symbols of survival, and to carry forward the light of understanding into a world in need of healing. Life continuously places us between opposing forces: light and dark, hope and despair, freedom and responsibility, certainty and doubt. Most people try to resolve this tension prematurely, clinging to one side and rejecting the other. But true resilience comes from holding both without collapsing. This is what Jung called the tension of opposites, the fertile space where transformation occurs. When you face adversity, you are inevitably confronted with conflicting feelings: the longing to give up and the drive to persevere, the fear of failure and the desire for growth. To embrace the tension of opposites is to accept that both exist within you at the same time, and that neither needs to be exiled. By staying present in this paradoxical space, something new and unexpected can emerge: a third way, a higher perspective, or an inner synthesis that transcends the conflict. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you will see countless examples of people who learned to live inside this tension rather than run from it. They allowed their doubts to coexist with their faith, their vulnerability to coexist with their courage. This inner balancing act develops psychological stamina, emotional depth, and spiritual maturity. It also fosters compassion, because once you have held your own contradictions, you can hold the contradictions of others without judgment. Embracing the tension of opposites does not make life easier, but it makes you stronger, wiser, and more authentic. It teaches you that resilience is not built by erasing discomfort but by enduring and integrating it until it yields new meaning and inner harmony. Through this practice, adversity becomes not a wall but a crucible, shaping you into a person capable of greater complexity, creativity, and depth of soul. Individuation is the process of becoming the person you were always meant to be. Not the mask you wear for the world, not the roles you were assigned, but the authentic self that exists beneath all conditioning. Trials, hardships, and adversities are not random obstacles on this path. They are the very catalysts that drive the individuation process forward. Every time you encounter difficulty, something in your old identity begins to crack, making space for a truer, deeper identity to emerge. Pain strips away illusions, exposing the beliefs, habits, and attachments that no longer serve your growth. It pushes you to question who you are, what you value, and what you are capable of becoming. This confrontation, though uncomfortable, is sacred because it liberates you from living on autopilot and invites you to engage life as a conscious participant. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you see how others have been refined by their trials rather than destroyed by them. Their stories reveal that individuation does not happen in comfort zones but in thresholds, deserts, and dark nights of the soul. Those moments when the familiar collapses and a new self must be born. Each hardship becomes an initiation rite, and an invitation to shed an outdated identity and step closer to your own center. Individuation through trial also strengthens your psychological muscles, self-awareness, emotional honesty, inner discipline, and the courage to stand alone when necessary. It awakens the archetype of the seeker or pilgrim within you, the one who walks into the unknown, trusting that meaning will arise through the journey itself. As you endure and integrate your experiences, you begin to feel a new coherence inside yourself. The fragmented parts of your personality, your fears, strengths, desires, and vulnerabilities, start to align around a deeper core. This is not merely survival, it is rebirth. Trials may scar you, but they also carve out the space for your soul to expand. By embracing the individuation process through adversity, you turn life's challenges into sacred milestones, each one bringing you closer to the wholeness and authenticity that is your birthright. Hardship has a way of stripping away the surface comforts and certainties we once relied upon. In the absence of external stability, we are invited, sometimes forced, to construct a deeper, more enduring foundation within ourselves. Building inner structures of meaning is the process of creating an interior architecture strong enough to hold us through life's storms. This is not about denying pain or pretending that everything is fine. It is about crafting a framework of values, beliefs, and inner truths that can carry us when outer circumstances collapse. Each trial becomes a chiseling force, shaping the pillars of your inner cathedral: self-respect, integrity, compassion, and purpose. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you see how others have built these internal structures after everything external was lost or transformed. Their stories reveal that meaning does not come prepackaged. It is forged through reflection, voice, and perseverance. They chose to create a narrative of growth instead of defeat, to find lessons instead of only wounds. And in doing so they gained a compass that guided them even in darkness. You too are capable of this act of sacred construction. By asking yourself what truly matters, what principles you refuse to compromise, and what vision you want to live by, you begin to erect a stable center inside yourself. These inner structures become your sanctuary. They hold your sense of identity, your trust in life, and your belief in your own ability to endure and evolve. They also provide a reference point for making decisions and taking action under pressure, reducing the chaos that adversity can bring. Over time, this inner architecture allows you to experience trials not only as disruptions but as opportunities to deepen your foundation. In this way, resilience becomes less about bouncing back and more about standing firm, rooted in meaning that cannot be taken from you. Through building inner structures of meaning, you transform adversity into an ally that strengthens your inner life and brings you closer to the unshakable self within. Human beings are wired for symbols and stories. They are the language of the unconscious, the bridge between our inner world and outer experience. When life feels chaotic or painful, symbols and stories act as containers, vessels strong enough to hold our confusion, grief, and hope until we can make sense of them. They help us translate the unspeakable into something that can be seen, touched, and shared. In every culture, myths and symbols have guided people through crises, giving shape to experiences too vast or painful to grasp directly. They remind us that no matter how unique our struggles feel, they are also part of a timeless human journey. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you are not just hearing facts or events, you are entering a symbolic landscape. Each story you encounter, whether about loss, recovery, or triumph, mirrors an archetypal path already moving within you. Someone's tale of surviving hardship may resonate as the hero's journey, the phoenix rising from ashes, or the sage finding wisdom in solitude. These archetypes live in you as much as they live in the storytellers, and by recognizing them you tap into a source of courage and meaning far larger than your personal ego. Symbols and stories also hold the power of transformation, because they bypass the intellect and speak directly to the soul. A single image or metaphor can shift your perspective faster than pages of analysis. A single story can inspire a dormant part of you to awaken and act. This is why telling your own story, or reframing it symbolically, can be so healing. It helps you see your suffering not as a meaningless detour, but as a chapter in a much larger narrative of growth and emergence. Over time, these symbols and stories create a personal mythology that you can return to again and again, especially when life feels uncertain. They become your inner compass, your secret language of resilience, and your ongoing reminder that you are part of something sacred, enduring, and infinitely creative. Suffering is often experienced as a dark and relentless force, something to escape, numb, or silence. Yet within its depths lies the seed of wisdom, a hidden invitation to grow beyond the limits of our current self. Transforming suffering into wisdom is not a passive process. It is an alchemical act of consciousness. Just as ancient alchemists sought to transmute base metals into gold, adversity calls you to transmute pain into insight, loss into compassion, and despair into a deeper understanding of life's mystery. This transformation begins the moment you stop seeing your pain as an enemy and start treating it as a teacher. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you discover countless examples of this inner alchemy at work. People who have endured great hardship often emerge with a kind of quiet radiance. Their suffering has deepened them, broadened their empathy, and refined their perception of what truly matters. Their stories reveal that wisdom does not arise from comfort but from the conscious integration of pain. By listening to them, you learn to ask different questions. What is this hardship trying to teach me? How can I grow from this? These questions transform suffering from something purely destructive into something purposeful. This process also dismantles the illusion of separateness. When you allow suffering to teach you, you become more attuned to the struggles of others, less quick to judge, and more willing to offer a hand. Pain softens the ego, making room for humility, authenticity, and gratitude. It clears away superficial concerns and reorients you toward values that endure: love, presence, integrity, and meaning. Over time, suffering can become the very crucible that reveals your true character, and awakens your spiritual intelligence. Transforming suffering into wisdom does not mean glorifying pain or seeking it out. Rather, it means refusing to waste the pain that life inevitably delivers. It means mining your hardships for the insight they contain, turning your scars into maps, your grief into empathy, and your failures into guideposts for a richer, more compassionate existence. In doing so, you come to embody a deeper resilience, one rooted not just in survival but in profound self-understanding and the courage to live with an open heart despite everything you have endured. At the deepest level of our being, beneath the layers of personality and personal history, we are connected to something vast and timeless. What Jung called the collective unconscious, a reservoir of shared symbols, archetypes, and experiences. This is the collective soul of humanity, and it is where we find the roots of our belonging. In times of adversity, it is easy to feel cut off and alone, convinced that no one can understand our pain. Yet when you listen to the stories of others who have suffered and risen again, you begin to sense that you are part of a much larger tapestry. Your struggles are not isolated events but threads woven into the same fabric that connects all human beings across cultures and centuries. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you are tapping into this collective soul. Each voice, each narrative, echoes your own in some way, reminding you that suffering and renewal are universal experiences. The archetypes you encounter, the hero, the healer, the survivor, the sage, exist in you as much as they exist in the people telling their stories. Their triumphs light a path that you can also follow, and their sorrows mirror the depths within your own heart. This recognition dismantles the walls of isolation and gives rise to a profound sense of solidarity. Belonging to the collective soul also awakens your innate empathy and compassion. It shows you that your pain is not just a private burden but part of humanity's ongoing evolution toward greater understanding and unity. When you open yourself to this truth, you stop viewing adversity as a punishment and begin to see it as a shared initiation. You recognize that your healing contributes to the healing of the whole. Just as others' resilience strengthens your own, this belonging does not erase individuality but enriches it. You remain a unique expression of life. Yet you know your roots reach into a common ground. This awareness can be profoundly stabilizing, no matter how dark your personal night may feel. Countless others have walked through their own darkness and found dawn. Their stories become a silent fellowship surrounding you, whispering courage into your spirit. Through belonging to the collective soul, you discover a reservoir of strength far larger than your own, a living network of hope and resilience that holds you even when you feel like you're falling. Emerging as the embodied self is the culmination of every trial, insight, and transformation you have undergone. It is the point at which resilience becomes more than a skill and transforms into a way of being. To be embodied is to live fully present in your own skin, rooted in your values, and aligned with your deepest truths. It means no longer drifting between masks or identities but standing firmly in the center of your own life. This emergence is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. Integrating the shadow, the wounds, the strengths, and the wisdom you have cultivated through adversity. When you browse episodes of resilience and overcoming adversity, you are not only witnessing other people's transformations but also being invited into your own. Each story you hear reflects a possibility within you. The courage to stand firm, the patience to endure, the creativity to rebuild, and the power to embody your authentic self. By internalizing these narratives, you begin to sense that resilience is not something you perform temporarily but something you embody permanently. This embodiment radiates as quiet confidence, grounded compassion, and an unwavering sense of purpose that is felt rather than proclaimed. Emerging as the embodied self also means living from your center rather than from the circumference. Instead of being defined by circumstances, opinions, or fleeting emotions, you draw from the deep well of your inner life. You become a living bridge between the inner and outer worlds, expressing your hard-won insights in tangible ways. Through your relationships, your work, your art, and your presence, people feel the steadiness of your being because it is not an act. It is an authentic transmission of the resilience you have forged within. This state of embodiment allows you to move through life with greater ease, grace, and integrity. Challenges still arise, but you meet them from a grounded place rather than a reactive one. You no longer seek to escape or deny life but to inhabit it fully. Emerging as the embodied self is, in essence, the heroic return from the journey of trials, returning with the elixir of wisdom and strength, not only for yourself, but for the benefit of others. It is the point where your personal story becomes a beacon for the collective, demonstrating that it is possible to endure, integrate, and ultimately thrive. Through this embodiment, resilience ceases to be merely an idea and becomes the living heartbeat of your daily existence. Do not merely listen, participate. Browse these episodes as sacred texts, as maps of the soul. Allow them to ignite the latent resilience already within you. Through every story of overcoming adversity, you awaken your own story of triumph,